honestly, what I love the most about Montreal is I think the food scene. Like we're definitely the food capital of Canada, and we're so lucky to have all of these great entrepreneurs, what like you say, and people that are talented in food and hospitality. And for me, that's what keeps it alive.
Welcome back to the Corner Talks podcast. I have my good friend here.
How's it going, man? Happy to be back.
No, it shouldn't be about anything. Like, this is one life.
Yep, one life? Like, fucking do it.
My guy.
Like, she just got it. She totally understood it.
20 years old when I started just watching a lot of movies.
And it tells a story. I want to tell a story.
Entrepreneur in the tourist business. Her name is Andrea Ashley Ducharme. How are you, Andrea?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. To give the audience some background, Andrea and I met when I visited with my good friend, Christian Alphonse, in Montreal. She took us around through her business, which we'll discuss more, her line of work, basically showing us the different spots where you can get drinks and you can get food and really absorb the French Canadian culture and lifestyle that Montreal has to offer.
Exactly. Totally. It was so much fun. We had a great night that night.
We had a very, very fun night. Christian still talks about it. Shout out to Christian. He loved the experience you provided.
I actually did a podcast with him not too long ago.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we were actually conversing, and he mentioned that, which actually sparked the idea to bring you on. I'll be honest, because when we were connecting, I said, because my podcast targets more creatives and entrepreneurs, and I said, what you showcased to us when we were visiting Montreal aligns with that. You're a creative individual yourself, and there's different sides to you. And the business you're kind of in revolves around that, right? Being entrepreneurial and having those tendencies. So really happy to have you on the podcast. Like I said, I saw Montreal from a different angle than I would have ever seen because I've been there multiple times. I really appreciated. It was more of a, intimate experience with what you provided. So I have to ask you though, with this entrepreneurial venture, Eat Like a Local Montreal, how did you become an experience host under AirBNB?
Yeah, so thank you so much, first of all, for all the compliments. It's really nice
No
to
problem.
hear. I aim to show people another side of Montreal that's not just the tourist side, because I know I'm a big traveler and I like to travel. So I know that when I'm traveling, I really want to experience what locals experience. So for you to say that is just exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm happy about that. So basically Airbnb, I worked at Airbnb, the offices before. There's a section of Airbnb called Airbnb Luxe right now. And before that, it was called Luxury Retreats. And Airbnb bought Luxury Retreats and we became Airbnb Luxe. So I worked for them. What I did was villa rentals. So all of the high-end villas all over the world, I would rent them to guests who would go, rent villas wherever they needed to rent them. And then, so I was doing that as a day job. And my partner, Chris, who I've been with now for 6 years, was opening restaurants and bars in Montreal. So I've always been part of the hospitality, travel, food and drink industry. But he was opening these really cool places and they became successful instantly. He was really young. He was like 21 when he was opening them. And so he was never home. And I was always at his restaurants, and I would take friends, family, people that I met when I was traveling, and they loved the places. And so I decided to start an experience through Airbnb and show people, because this is what I would do on my days off, is go to this place. The restaurants we go to, what we eat, the drinks we drink on the tour is what I do. So I wanted people to experience really what a local does. And so I started that tour on Airbnb Experiences. And it was instantly popular. People loved it because they felt like they were with a local. It felt private. It felt like obviously I know the staff, I know the owners, like when I'm there, it doesn't feel like I made a reservation somewhere and we go. It really feels like you're with someone who knows what they're doing and that goes to these places often. So And then since that worked so well, I started a different tour. It's a spirit tasting. And that worked really well. It's at another one of my boyfriend's restaurants. Then we go to his pizzeria and have pizza. And so that one became really popular, and I couldn't be at two places at once. So I hired some co-hosts, employees to run the tours. And it became popular really, really quickly. And so I'm not going to go in all the details, but from there I launched into another tour, which was a cocktail making class where I would, I actually didn't do the cocktails. I'm not a bartender, but I have a lot of bartender friends.
Right.
So he would run the tour, and I was, to take care of it on the back end, take care of the guests. It became a business, and I was able to quit my job at AirBNB and do this full time until COVID hit, and I lost all my tours and stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. COVID hit us very hard, and that's something that I'm happy to discuss with you soon. Is that we all had to find new ways to adapt to our lifestyles, right, and our careers. And just hearing, from your partner, like it's really kind of nice to hear that you guys are both entrepreneurial. You guys both have that mindset. I guess that's how you make it work, right? Part of the reason why I enjoyed the experience. And me and Christian looked at each other because we also like to see ourselves identify as entrepreneurs is the fact that you brought us to a restaurant or a bar, I should say, that was owned by your boyfriend and by their friends, because that was just smart marketing too, right? You're kind of introducing us to places that kind of builds an ecosystem, right? Like it's always kind of revolving around your brands, right? Instead of bringing us to the competition, which I don't think your boyfriend would appreciate.
Yeah, no, but honestly, I would not take you there if they were not places that were staples in Montreal and that were great.
Right.
You've experienced it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like I understand that. Yes, it's smart marketing. Obviously, it's a huge help that it's his places, but like these places are amazing. They're part of the fabric of Montreal, and really high-end hospitality, great food, great, they actually, really glad I'm doing the podcast here.
Yeah.
They were named at Water Cocktail Club, which is one of the bars we go to on the tour, were named top 10 in the world. So they just got a position.
I was just gonna ask you about that. So out of all so this was like on a worldwide scale, like like number, what was that again? Number 11, you said?
There's no number, like right now, basically they name the top 10, and then they take the top 10 to Louisiana, and they have, it's called Tales of the Cocktail.
That's insane. Wow.
Yeah.
So
and
congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's really amazing. So he's in the top 10. So we'll see where he ranks later on, but just to be in the top 10 worldwide.
Yeah, just to be recognized really for anything, right? That's a huge testament. And like you said, you didn't bring us because, it's like your boyfriend's run place. Like I saw how everything was operating, and I saw the clientele, and then the traffic as well. It was a testament to the service, right, and the quality of what it provides. And we enjoyed ourselves very much. And like you just said, it's the staples of Montreal, which I wanted to ask you next. What do you most desire about the city of Montreal and its people?
What do you mean? Because I read that question when you.
Well, I like to know, for you to engage as an experienced host, right? For you to make this your full-time career, what motivates you to do it? Because a lot of people that grew up in their cities, they're sick of it. They don't really care for it. They move out. But you have a fascination, the way you were talking about it in the tours, the way you were going in the background, the backstories, I should say, about the foods, especially when we went to that diner and I asked you about, this reminds me of Saint Hubert, and one guy yelled out, "This is nothing like Saint Hubert." So I'm curious as to like what's the fondness behind Montreal and the people that make up this great city that you grew up from?
Oh my God, I don't know. Like it's kind of, I'm very proud of my city. I'm proud that it's so multicultural.
Right.
Honestly, what I love the most about Montreal is, I think, the food scene. Like we're definitely the food capital of Canada, and we're so lucky to have all of these great entrepreneurs, like you say, and people that are talented in food and hospitality. And for me, that's what keeps it alive. It's the great restaurants that are offered to us, the hospitality that you have here, like and also the French language and the European feel to it as well, for sure.
No, for sure. And then that's what I was going to ask you next. Like, why do you, as an experienced host, like, why is it important to you, this career? Would you say it's because the opportunity to kind of showcase the city to people that maybe are not familiar with its culture and its people?
Yeah, so like it's important for me that people when they come to Montreal, they don't just do the touristy things, you know what I mean? And they actually see what it's like. I want people to really get a feel for what Montreal is for real, you know, like not
Yeah.
like the real side of it, how people here live. So that's important to me that when they go back home, they have this experience of I really felt like I was experiencing Montreal through a local, you know, and they have an idea, like they don't go back and talk to their friends about Montreal as being this touristy thing, or you know what I mean? Like I really like that they have that local experience. That's what's important to me, I think.
Yeah, from the beginning of the podcast, that's the word that kind of stuck out to me the most. That I remember from our experience is that it was intimate, right? Like it felt like I didn't know how large the group was going to be. Again, Christian, my friend, organized everything, but when the day finally came, I said I kind of like this. It's like a small group. It's not rowdy. And you can kind of get to know and understand not only yourself, the hostess, but the people that came on the trip, came alongside, along with the journey. You know, those two ladies from Texas. You just kind of understand different people, and it's kind of fascinating too. Like, you know, Toronto and Montreal, within the same country of Canada, but we come from different worlds. And Texas, as you can imagine, comes from different worlds. So it's amazing how we were explaining to them certain things that we learned and we in school, and how we were raised, like our lifestyles and how they are similar and they differ. But I also, as a Torontonian, was fascinated to hear how you were explaining about, like, you know, the education system, and the whole laws about, like, if, you know, one of the parents is French, they have to encourage their child or to go to a French immersion school, something along those lines. So yeah, it was really it was an educational experience, really, for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, I love a big part of my tours is like meeting people from all over the world. Like I feel so lucky. People take my tours and they love it, but I'm the lucky one of getting all these contacts and meeting people from all over the world. Like it really, really opens your perspective and makes you someone who's so much more open-minded, you know, and I'm very lucky to have something that people book, you know, my experience. Like how crazy is that? You know,
No, for sure.
Yeah.
No, for
I'm
sure.
very
Yeah,
grateful.
no. And the unfortunate thing, obviously, is you brushed on it before, the pandemic, right? It's proven to be the most severe kind of crisis in recent memory, specifically for the people of our generation who endured job loss and financial struggle. How did the pandemic affect your line of work to provide tourism to travelers in a time when it wasn't warranted, right? It was really against the law at one point.
Yeah, so I lost all my tours because all of my tours were in restaurants and bars and
Mhm.
everything shut down. So I think um I think when it happened at first, you didn't realize the impact that it would have on you. I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna be a pause. Like we're getting money from the government, so it's not so bad for a little while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's afterwards when it's been a long time and your whole life changes and you have I remember I had to go back to villa rental business. So I still have a day job and I'm doing my villa rentals during the day. Because the market is still too unstable and I'm not sure, you know what I mean? And it was too hard to find another job. It was too difficult. So yeah, I think it's the impact afterwards that your whole life turns upside down, you know, like my boyfriend, his restaurants closed and they did so well but it was hard, you know, like they did so well because they did takeaway cocktails and take out for their food, but my God, they had to do all these ideas from scratch and start over, and they worked so hard to be where they were at that moment, you know.
Yeah.
Luckily they didn't lose what they built, but it was really scary, you know,
It was a
like
devastating impact for sure. Like you just said it, right? They used all their time, their energy to build the business to what it was. And then when the pandemic hit, it forced them to kind of pivot, to be inventive, to adapt. The problem is that it takes even more time, right? I can only imagine those businesses, and they said it. If the businesses in the pandemic didn't know how to use DoorDash or Skip the Dishes or anything that matter, I'm not sure the services your boyfriend used, but the point being is if they didn't adapt to technology, unfortunately they were bankrupt, right? They didn't really see any success. So that's really cool that things worked out nevertheless, right? I'm sure there were drawbacks in the beginning, but things worked out for you, for both of you. How did you cope yourself with the financial burden, or maybe some mental distress like that may have created during this difficult time? Like, how did you bounce back?
It was really tough. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say, oh, like whatever. No,
Yeah.
it was really tough, like mentally. Like I said, it's not things that are like in your face difficult. It creeps up on you, little things, you know what I mean? It was tough for both of us as a couple to be home. We're people that are always out and thrive off of other people and
Yeah.
socialization. And
Hmm.
it was really tough. I mean, we were renovating our home, we bought a house, and then financially we're stuck, So yes, we got money from the government for a little while, but I had to go back to my job of villa rentals. Thank goodness I really liked doing that. But I had to readapt. I was off on when the pandemic hit, I was at my highest point on my tours. I was just about to launch a tour in New York City.
Wow.
My boyfriend was at the top of his game with his bars and restaurants. They were about to open 2 other places.
Amazing.
So we had to readapt.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I mean, when it happened, I really am excited about things that are like big, like storms. And so I was like, oh my goodness, like there's this, like I wasn't scared. That's not,
You were embracing it.
yeah. And like I got into like arts and crafts and like all this stuff. And
Same.
I would find ways around, like I'm someone who I thrive off people. And so find ways around, like I have a dog, so I could walk the dog and go see my friends. And like,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I did what I could, but in the end, it's super difficult you have the rug pulled out from under you. You know what I mean? You have to rewrite your story. Like we had to readapt financially, like it really put a wrench in the plans. And I'm right at the age, like I'm 32 now. So it's like the prime of when things are happening in your life, like when you're going to start a family, and so it pressed pause on that. And then all the things that go with that, like, okay, well, my body's getting older, and you know what I mean? Like it's difficult. It's
No,
really
I read between the lines. I know exactly what you feel, and I'm so happy you voiced it, because that was something that I was always arguing in the pandemic. It's like you said, you embraced the chaos, right? It's kind of like you're a versatile person. You made it work for you. But at the end of the day, it came to a point, like for me, right around when 2021 started creeping around. That's when it hit, and I said, okay, 2020, whatever, it was fun, but I need to now like get out there. I need to now get this business going. I need to connect with people, both personally and professionally. We're human beings, and like you said, we're at the prime of our life. Like you're not that much older than me, I believe, and we're in that generation where it's like this is our prime. This is the time to do things, right? And again, whether it's personally or professionally, and in your case, it was even both, right? Not only are you trying to renovate and buy a house, but you're also trying to expand your businesses. And yeah, like it hindered on those kind of ambitions. But I'm always curious throughout this podcast how people kind of gone through it and survived it. Because for me, it's very inspirational. There's different tactics, right, that other people might use. For me, I was always logging like how grateful I was, and I was always meditating, and I was just finding new hobbies to keep myself distracted. While other people kind of embraced the solitude, right? About, being by themselves. They just kind of didn't care. Some people just went full force, just watch Netflix all day. Like,
well, like for
was
example,
how they cope.
it's really funny you say that,
Yeah.
because for example, my boyfriend who is a workaholic. He's a workaholic. He works all the time. He was forced to pause his life.
Yeah.
And I think that he will even tell you that it was really helpful to him to pause, and take a break, and even if it was difficult, like it was needed. Like he was on the verge of it. Like if he would have continued working the way he was working, he would have broke down eventually. So for those types of people, I think it was needed, even if it was really difficult. I'm not saying, but I think things like that were needed. Like for me, where I thrive off of social and, I don't know. I think it was not that it was harder. I'm not saying it was easier for me or easier for him. But I just know that for some people, it was a nice break,
Yeah. Well, you being more of an extrovert, right? Like, or you strike me as one. It was nice to kind of like slow things down. You're saying, right? Like those are kind of
Yeah.
like yeah, those are the lessons. Yeah, definitely I would take in with the crisis is that you don't want to get to a burnout feeling because you just don't feel inspired or motivated to do something. As a creative myself, I've experienced that many times throughout the pandemic. So I think it's important, yeah, to really appreciate the finer things in life, as they say. Brought me closer to my family, and I'm sure for yourself you could say the same, right? Did it bring
Yeah.
you guys closer as well, like your
Yeah, well,
friends and
we were
family?
already very close. My family and
Yes,
I were very
yes,
close. But yeah, my grandfather died during the pandemic. It was really, really difficult. But I saw my family come together even more, So
right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, sorry to hear that. Yeah, they're on my side, right? Like there have been tragedies too. But in those times, like you see, like the how you can overcome them, right? The strength in that. So really important. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you got through it. That's always important, especially in the pandemic. Something that we experienced, especially because we're now experiencing the tail end of it. So when I looked through your social media profile, as I told the audience, we didn't know each other before the Montreal trip. And the beauty about social media, what I always advocate on this platform is we're able to connect with people from anywhere really in the world, not just our community. But I got an understanding of who you are and what you're capable of based on the content that you've been putting out. And from observing your profile, I get a sense that you have an affinity for the art and photography. Am I wrong about that?
no, totally. I have my
Okay, perfect. So do you see yourself
degree
pursuing the
in
arts?
photography.
Oh, sorry. You cut out. Oh, you cut out. You cut out. What are you saying? Sorry.
Important. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, no, you
Um,
cut.
can you hear me? We're all
I can
good?
hear you now. Yeah,
Okay,
just
good.
say
Um,
if you were saying something. Yeah.
No,
Please
I was
repeat.
just saying that you're right. I have my bachelor's in photography, and I love photography. I love going to school for photo, and it really ties into me to like hospitality. I like places have to have this glow, like like visually, So for me, it's all a package, and it makes who I am. I don't think I'm ever gonna be a photographer for work. I don't like being told, okay, we need photos of this and this. For me, I have a fine arts degree, so it wasn't commercial photography. So all the photos that I do is for the pleasure of doing them myself. It's
For
when I
yourself.
want to. So I will always do that. It shapes how I see the world. It shapes, it's part of who I am, but I will never I say never, I don't like that word. But I don't imagine doing it for work ever.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to ask you, right? Like, do you see yourself pursuing it? But on that stance, no, I don't see that as at all. It changes, right? When you make it a career, like make it something that you rely on a source of income.
Totally.
I feel like, yeah, you're a true artist in that sense, where you're right. Like you rather do it for yourself,
Yeah,
for
and
the
it's like my special place. And taking away, if someone says, okay, you have to do photography today, you have to take pictures of this, it sucks the passion out of it for me. I've tried
yeah,
it. I've done wedding photography, and it pushed me away. Like for me, I have a certain relationship with the art form that is only when I'm inspired that I won't pressure myself.
yeah.
Sometimes I don't pick up my camera for ages. Sometimes I take pictures with my iPhone, like, and I don't make myself feel bad about it because that's not what it's about.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually. A lot of artists, including myself, I'm guilty of it. Will kind of
Mm.
kick myself if I don't kind of stay on the craft. But you take the other approach around. Like you're saying, you kind of take it easy, like take it as like whenever you're kind of inspired by it. That's interesting.
Yeah, totally. And I used to be like you, like, oh, I haven't done photo, and like I put it on my
Yeah,
to-do list. And then I would start comparing myself because there's so many photographers out there, and there's so many, and it was tough. So I told myself, look, this is for you only, what you want to do when you feel inspired. There's no competition here. There's no, you know what I mean? And that's how I keep my love for it. And that's how I keep a relationship, or else I would not.
yeah. That's how you keep it close to your heart, right?
Exactly.
And that would make sense. And that's probably an approach we should all take as artists, right? To kind of take it in stride, but also treat it like a passion, right? Treat it something that you want to do rather than being told you're doing it because you're compelled to by someone else's success or by comparison or judgment, right? I feel like art comes from within, right? And it comes at its own like natural and organic pace. So that's really cool to hear. Are there any other creative or entrepreneurial ventures you intend to explore next?
Not really. And it's so funny that you reached out to me to talk about being an entrepreneur. Like,
Yeah.
you would ask anyone. Oh no, that's not true. You would ask, let's say, my partner or my dad. Like, I'm not someone who is very entrepreneur. Like, I did
Right.
this, it came naturally to me. The
Right.
tours, the build up came naturally. But I'm not someone, for example, like my partner, who is searching for projects and always, starting new. Like, I think this is my thing. And if something comes up naturally, I will take it totally. But I don't think I have anything in mind. I don't like to put that pressure on myself, as you can see.
Yeah.
I'm looking for stability. So with my full-time job in the villa industry, I'm going to be traveling. I'm leaving for Mexico Monday. So
Nice.
those things, yeah. And I'm going to be focusing a lot on my family and my home life for a little while. So as long as I have that stability of my tours and my full-time job and my family, then I think that's what I'm going to focus on.
Yeah, that's perfect. And you sound like a free-spirited individual to begin with, right? Nonchalant, take life as it is, and go with the flow, right? And that's how you should be, especially if you're an artist yourself. You strike me as an entrepreneur just based on, like I said, your Eat Like a Local Montreal, like your business, what I experienced with Christian in that kind of venue. But the reason why, again, like I see you as like an entrepreneur, maybe it's not to the scale of your boyfriend, who's made all these accomplishments and accolades, but it's still in some way, a business, right? And still in some way, some sort of venture that you personalize for a clientele. And that's something that should be acknowledged and that shouldn't be discounted. So definitely has entrepreneurial tendencies at the least.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I really appreciate you sharing your journey and really what you can offer if people want to visit Montreal and take your tour, right? To
Totally.
get an insight, yeah, for French Canadians, yeah. So thank you again, Andrea, for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate you explaining and sharing your experience so far on the journey as an entrepreneur, as a creative, and what's next for you.
I really appreciate it. It was really nice to speak with you. And I hope to speak with you again soon. And if you're in Montreal anytime, you don't have to take a tour. I'll take you on a private tour. You can come to my house and have a nice dinner as a hospitable here with me and my partner. That would be nice.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So thank you again, everybody else, for listening. Thank you again, Andrea, and we'll talk soon.